There's a lot of different questions as to the source, but there does seem to be a significant change or separation between the British and their perspectives on colonialism and imperialism versus the French. One of the most direct symbols, for instance, was the degree to which the British really led the charge on the international outlawing of slavery, and then built their entire naval force on the idea of enforcing what they believed, what ultimately would become international law, or the law of the sea. But their initial thought, I mean, you've all heard the term white man's burden. The reality is that the British might have looked at that as a pejorative, as a, it's our burden. The religious perspectives, especially the Protestant and the Reformation, really changed to a degree how the Brits saw their role, and they began to see themselves more as caretakers. And they really believed to a degree. Now, I'm not saying absolute. The Indians would not necessarily agree with me. It took a long...
But the British did see themselves as improving these
Absolutely. So, why is this all important? To this day, one of the issues with the British exit from the EU has to revolve around how the British economy was going to be incorporated within the EU economy. Specifically, the British are the only former colonial or imperial power that made an agreement with every former colony that they would have limitless and unfettered free trade with the mother country. Okay? And it's basically called the Commonwealth. So every former British state or colony has the ability to trade, and it's not just a trade issue. It's the reason, for instance, why former colonies are constantly sending their youth to England for education, because that's part of the guarantee. We took advantage of you, now we want to give back, kind of thing. So the practical aspect means is that former British colonies pay 0% tariffs on anything that they import or export within the British economy. Well, the EU's like, we're not going to give 0% tariff rights to 40 former colonies relative to EU trade. We're not. That would be ridiculous.
It ain't fair.
That was the reason why the Brits truly never signed up for the common currency. They were on board with the other EU stuff, but in their minds, never mind the fact that the British pound sterling was outperforming anything except the Deutschmark about the time the EU was developing. But for them, not only was joining the EU a potential mark or hit on their own economic activity, it would absolutely destroy the special economic relationships they had with their former colonies. And so that was a big push. Even now, they're going back and they're starting to get into the nuts and bolts of the Brexit discussion. Even now, the issue of British special economic relationships with former colonies continues to be a sort of a wedge between just what sort of relationship the British are going to have with the EU moving forward. Because it's we're talking 30, 40 countries around the world, that have that special trading relationship with Britain. And there's no way the EU is going to, especially somebody like France or Germany, is going to shoehorn that sort of a special kind of recognition for the British. So that's a big sticking point for them.